Hey, what's up, NFL nerds? We're back with another prediction video, predicting the 2019 NFL season. Now, in the last episode, we predicted the Buccaneers 2019 season. Make sure you go and check that out if you haven't already. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and predict the New Orleans Saints 2019 NFL record. Now, they're going to be kicking off the season playing at home against the Texans. I really like this matchup. The Saints have arguably an elite offensive line against, a mean Texans pass rush, featuring J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, and they just have a really good defense there. So I think that'll also be a very good matchup. Both of them have top 5 receivers in DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas, respectively. Both of them have really good quarterbacks. In my opinion, at least, Drew Brees is the best quarterback of all time. It sucks saying that because I'm a Panthers fan, but it's true. I think Drew Brees is the best quarterback of all time. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. I see this being surprisingly a pretty defensive game, but I actually see the Saints taking the win here. This will be a rematch from the 2018 season when the Rams and Saints played. That was one of my favorite games of the season, actually. That was a lot of fun to watch, and I really enjoyed it. This one, I'm just gonna say right now, yeah, the Rams will be really good. I still see them probably winning that division, but I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year. And even though they'll be playing in LA, I see the Saints winning that game. So, let's go Saints. Saints at the Seattle Seahawks. This I see being a good matchup too. Seahawks have a good running back in Chris Carson. Saints have a really good running back in Alvin Kamara. Obviously, everybody knows who he is. I see this being a pretty run-heavy game. I don't see either quarterback throwing for more than 300 yards. I see it being a pretty rush-heavy game. And I could actually see Chris Carson having a pretty good game against the Saints. I know the Saints have a really good rush defense, and even a good pass defense, but their rush defense is really good. But I could see Chris Carson actually being kind of a dark horse for that game and, having a really good game. But I've got to say I'm going to go with the Saints on this one. I hate giving the Saints this many wins right off the bat because, I was thinking the Panthers are going to win the division. I think it'll be really close, and I know I'm kind of jumping back here, but I think if the Panthers don't win the division, I think they will at least be a wild card spot, probably a number 5 seed. I could be totally wrong. I could just be biased because I like the Panthers, but I don't know. Week 4, they will be playing at home against the Cowboys. I'm not a huge fan of the Cowboys, I'll be honest with you, but I think the Cowboys are one of the best teams to play against the Saints. They ended up beating them last year. And it was a good game. It was a very defensive game, but I really enjoyed watching it actually. Ezekiel Elliott, I really don't see him having that amazing of a game, but with Amari Cooper and that in my opinion, elite Cowboys defense. I see the Cowboys, winning that one as well. So I'm gonna give that one to the Cowboys. This one we already went over in the Buccaneers video, but we'll cover it again. They'll be playing in New Orleans. It's a hard place to play in. And it seems like, at least generally, the Saints own the Bucs. I don't know. I know that the Bucs beat them one time this last year, but they don't have Fitzmagic anymore. I think he was realistically, I think he was single-handedly the reason why the Bucs even won that game. Honestly. And I just don't think Jameis Winston is really all that amazing, in my opinion. And then the next week, they will be traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. I see this being a good matchup as well. Michael Thomas against Jalen Ramsey. Or else they might do the type of thing where they have the number 2 and 3 cornerbacks on the number 1 receiver. And then Jalen Ramsey, who's the number 1 corner, on the Saints' number 2 receiver. It could be a situation like that because, with Michael Thomas probably being a top 5 wide receiver in the league, they're probably going to want to double cover him. I see this being a very defensive game. I don't I don't think either team is going to score more than 20 points. I know the Jaguars are both slept on this year and overhyped at the same time. I feel like there's not a whole lot of in between here. Everybody thinks they'll either be really good or really bad again. I personally think they'll be about average, but I think this is going to be an upset. I think Jaguars are pulling it off. Now, the next week, they will be traveling to Chicago to take on the Bears. I'm just going to say this right now. I think the Bears have the best defense in the league. No questions asked. Their offense is getting increasingly better as well. Mitch Trubisky seems to be getting better every year. I definitely see the Bears winning this one. And I know you're going to think I'm crazy for already giving the Saints basically 5 losses, but I can see this happening. I really can. This next one, no questions asked. The Saints are winning that one. Who do the Cardinals have that is going to be able to stand up to that Saints offense and score more than them against that Saints defense? And I want to know you guys' opinion. Who do the Cardinals have that can stand up against the Saints? Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald is still pretty good, but he's getting old. I know they have a relatively average defense, I guess, but a relatively average defense isn't gonna beat the New Orleans Saints. It's not gonna happen. So I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Then they'll have a bye week. They'll come off the bye week playing at home against the Falcons. These games are always really fun to watch. I love watching the Saints and Falcons play. They're always some of my favorite games of the year. I love watching Julio Jones and Michael Thomas playing in the same game. Both of them have elite quarterbacks, and they're both. I think Julio Jones, in my opinion, is the second best receiver in the league. Michael Thomas is also top 5. Seeing them play in the same game is, I think that's a fun game. But like I mentioned earlier, they're playing in New Orleans. It's a hard place to play. I think that particular one, the Saints are taking. Next one, they will travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs. This one, same type of situation as before. I think this one will be a little bit closer because, it's in Tampa Bay. They'll have that home field advantage. But I think this will be the same type of thing as before. I think the Saints are going to take it. Mike Evans for the Bucs could have a pretty good game, but I don't think he's going to single-handedly take down the Saints. This next one, I'm sorry, there's always at least one game of the year that the Panthers lose to the Saints, and I particularly think it's going to be this one. I don't want to try to overhype the Panthers because, just because they're my favorite team, I want to try to keep it realistic, and I'm sorry, but they're not going to beat the Saints in New Orleans. Next week, they will be traveling to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Atlanta is also another really hard place to play. I mentioned at least before that the Panthers are horrible playing in Atlanta, and I'm sorry for keep bringing up the Panthers. I apologize. But when it comes to the Saints and Falcons games, those are fun to watch. I think that would be one of the most fun games of the year. And with it being in Atlanta, I don't think the Saints are going to pull off the win. I think the Falcons are going to take that one. Now, the next week, week 14, they'll be staying home against the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers made a lot of additions this offseason, getting Nick Bosa, the stud edge rusher. They got Tevin Coleman. I think he's going to be pretty dang good with them. They still have Matt Breida. He's going to be good. I personally don't think the Saints made any huge additions other than Jared Cook. And who knows, that he could be kind of an X factor in that game. But I don't know. I'm really liking that 49ers defense. I think it'll be pretty solid, but I don't think it's going to be enough to take down the Saints. I think the Saints are going to be taking that one. Hopefully I explained that one well enough. Week 15, they'll be staying at home against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I've got the Colts right now beating everyone else in my division. But I think this is going to be a good matchup. I feel like the Saints defense is actually going to be able to do pretty well against the Colts defense. Or, against Colts offense, sorry. Andrew Luck, I feel like he's going to have a hard time against that defense. Everybody's talking about how good the Saints offense will be, but I'm looking at that defense. With Cam Jordan, I know Colts have an elite offensive line, but Cam Jordan, he is one of the best edge rushers in the league, and he's pretty slept on. I'm not going to necessarily say he's underrated, but not as many people really think he's as great as he is. And I think that defense is gonna, you know, I think they're gonna keep Andrew Luck on his heels, and I don't think he's gonna have that great of a game in that one. I see the Saints taking that one. Now this one, I don't see the Titans being as good as everybody claims them to be. You know, I know Derrick Henry had a few good last games of this last year, but until I see a full good season from him, I stand by what I said about him being a mediocre at best back. You know, but before those last few games, he was averaging, I'm going to say like 3.7 or something yards per carry. And then once he pulled that, you know, 200-yard rushing game or whatever out of nowhere, everybody went wild and started ranking him in, you know, top 10 running backs in the league. Like, I'm sorry. You don't have a few good games and automatically be called one of the best in the league. That's not how it goes. You know, it's you got to prove it. So overall, I think the Saints are taking that one as well. I know it's in Tennessee, but I don't see the Titans' offense being able to do a damn thing against that New Orleans Saints defense. You know, I don't think Marcus Mariota is as good as people think he is. I think he's pretty mediocre, to be honest. And I just don't see it. This next one, it'll be Saints at the Panthers. Now, I feel like the Panthers actually play pretty well against the Saints. You know, in this last game, well, I'm not going to say in this last game, but like in this last season, when they played in Carolina, the Saints only won by 3 points. You know, that could be one magic play from the Panthers and they win. You know, it completely just depends. So, I don't know, I guess that completely just, I don't know. I like some of the matchups. I really do. I'd actually like to see Curtis Samuel being covered by Marshawn Lattimore. I know he'll probably be covering DJ Moore instead, but I'd really like to see him cover Curtis Samuel. I feel like Marshawn Lattimore is better at covering like big body receivers, and Curtis Samuel is pretty freaking small. And I think Curtis Samuel's going to have a good game. You know, I see him being a pretty big dark horse in that game. So I think he's definitely going to have a good game. And with it being in Carolina, and with how much they're being slept on this year, you know, I think the Panthers are winning that one. You know, I covered that in the Panthers prediction. Make sure you go and check that out, by the way. Let me know how I did on that one. But anyways, I'm not really sure what this last one down here is. The Saints aren't playing the Giants. I don't really know why that's even there. Let me see if it even changes anything. No. I wonder if that's just for like a later on like playoff prediction or something. I don't know. But anyways, let me know how I did in this video. Let me know if there was anything on here you would change or anything you think differently. Feel free to like and comment on this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. But thank you so much for watching, and tune in later to see what division I do next. So, thanks for watching. Later.